The security guard's hand on Lena Ward's elbow felt like a brand. She didn't resist as he steered her through the open-plan office, past rows of desks where her colleagues, former colleagues, kept their eyes glued to their screens. The silence was deafening. No one said goodbye. No one met her gaze. 23 pairs of eyes pretending she'd already ceased to exist. Her desk had already been cleared. The framed photo of her and her mother at graduation gone. The coffee mug she'd used for 4 years gone. Even the succulent plant she'd nursed back from near death gone. Like she'd been erased with a keystroke. Ms. Ward. Gavin Lecter's voice stopped her at the elevator. Her boss, former boss, stood in his office doorway, arms crossed, face arranged in what he probably thought looked like regret. I want you to know this wasn't personal. Lena's jaw tightened. Not personal. He'd called her into his office 6 hours ago with HR and 2 lawyers, slid a folder across his desk, and told her the company had irrefutable evidence she'd embezzled $73,000 through fake vendor accounts. She'd never even seen those accounts until they showed her the forged signatures. Her signatures. Her employee ID. Her computer login. The police will be in touch, Gavin added. I suggest you lawyer up. The elevator doors opened. The guard nudged her inside. As the door slid shut, Lena caught one final glimpse of the office. Gavin had already turned away. But behind him, through the glass wall of the conference room, she saw them. Vivian Bates, her best friend since college, sat at the table, scrolling through her phone, a small smile playing at her lips. Next to her, Owen Ripley, Lena's ex-boyfriend of 3 years, leaned back in his chair like he didn't have a care in the world. They didn't look up. They didn't need to. They'd already won. Hey everyone, welcome back. I know you're probably wondering what kind of story makes someone go from trusted employee to escorted out by security in a single morning. Drop a comment below and let me know where you're watching from, because this one's going to make you question everyone you trust. If you haven't subscribed yet, do it now. You're about to watch someone lose everything and then take it all back with interest. Lena sat in her car in the parking garage for 20 minutes, staring at her phone. It had started buzzing the moment she'd stepped into the elevator. Text after text. Notification after notification. By the time she reached her car, she had 47 unread messages, and her Instagram had exploded. She opened the app with shaking hands. The first thing she saw was Vivian's story. Her best friend, the woman who'd been her maid of honor at her almost wedding to Owen, who'd cried on Lena's couch after her last breakup, who'd borrowed money from Lena 3 months ago and never paid it back, was doing a live stream. Honestly, just heartbroken, Vivian was saying, her voice thick with manufactured emotion. I considered her my sister, you know? And to find out she was stealing from the company this whole time. She shook her head, glossy hair catching the light perfectly. It explains so much. The designer bags, the expensive dinners. I thought she was just good with money. The comments were vicious. I knew she was fake. Gold digger energy, to be honest. Your real friends would never. Lena's hands trembled. She'd never owned a designer bag in her life. The expensive dinners had been birthday celebrations Vivian had insisted on and stuck Lena with the bill for. She scrolled further. Someone had leaked their private text messages. Conversations from 2 years ago, taken wildly out of context. A joke about robbing the company blind after a frustrating meeting with Gavin. A vent session where she'd said she deserved a raise after landing a major client. Every word twisted. Every sentiment weaponized. Her phone rang. Her mother. Lena answered. Mom, I can't believe you'd do this to us. Her mother's voice was ice. After everything your father and I sacrificed to put you through college. Do you know I've already had 3 friends call me? 3, Lena. Asking if it's true. It's not true. Mom, I didn't. The police are involved. That doesn't happen if you didn't do something. They framed me. Don't. Her mother's voice cracked. Don't lie to me too. I need some time to process this. Don't call me. The line went dead. Lena sat in the silence of her car, the phone still pressed to her ear, and felt the foundations of her life crumbling beneath her. Her job. Her reputation. Her best friend. Her mother. Gone. All of it gone. She drove home in a daze. Her apartment, a small 1-bedroom she'd been so proud to afford on her own, felt like a tomb. The eviction notice taped to her door was just the cherry on top. 30 days. She ripped it down and went inside, locked the door, and finally let herself fall apart.
For 2 hours, she cried.
Great, heaving sobs that left her empty and hollow. Then she stopped. She sat up on her couch, wiped her face, and opened her laptop. The logical part of her brain, the part that had always been good at solving problems, at finding patterns, at seeing what others missed, started to wake up. They'd planned this. The timing was too perfect. The evidence too complete. The social media blitz too coordinated. Gavin, Vivian, and Owen. Her boss, her best friend, and her ex. 3 people she'd trusted completely. 3 people who'd systematically destroyed her in less than 24 hours.
Why?
Lena pulled up her email. Her work account had already been deactivated, but she had personal backups. She started scrolling through old messages, looking for something. Anything. 3 months ago. A late-night email from Gavin to Owen, accidentally CC'd to her instead of someone else. She'd thought it was strange at the time, but hadn't followed up. She's too trusting. This will be easier than we thought. Her blood ran cold. She kept digging. Calendar invites she'd been left off of. Meetings between Gavin and Vivian she'd only heard about secondhand. Owen asking pointed questions about her work passwords, her routines, her schedule. They hadn't just framed her. They'd been planning it for months. The crying was done. The grief could wait. Lena opened a new browser window and created a new email account. Something anonymous. Untraceable. Then she started a document and titled it Evidence.
She didn't know how yet. She didn't know when.
But she was going to burn them down. 4 days later, Lena's bank account was down to $217. Her Instagram had been flooded with so much hate, she deleted the app. Vivian's follower count had jumped by 15,000. Apparently, calling out a toxic friend was great for engagement. Lena packed a single suitcase, left her apartment keys on the counter with a note for the landlord, and got in her car. She drove 6 hours to a town called Millbrook, where the rent was cheap and no one knew her name. She paid cash for a month at an extended stay motel that smelled like cigarettes and regret. Then she went to the public library, sat down at a computer in the back corner, and got to work. If they thought she'd disappear quietly, they were wrong. They wanted her gone? She'd show them gone. But when she came back, she'd be bringing hell with her. Lena Ward hadn't always been the woman sitting in a Millbrook motel room with a burner laptop and a vendetta. 6 months ago, she'd been the person everyone called when something needed fixing. The reliable one. The one who stayed late to help colleagues meet deadlines, who brought homemade cookies to office parties, who actually read the group chat and remembered people's birthdays. Her grandmother used to say she had a helper's heart. Lena had always thought it was a compliment. Now she knew it made her a target. She sat cross-legged on the scratchy motel bedspread, the laptop balanced on her knees, and pulled up old photos on her phone. Not for nostalgia, for study. She needed to remember who these people really were, strip away the friendship and trust that had blinded her. First up, Gavin Lecter. Gavin had been her boss for 4 years at Meridian Consulting. Mid-40s, divorced twice, the kind of man who wore expensive suits and cheaper cologne. He'd hired Lena fresh out of grad school when she was 26, desperate, and willing to work for less than she was worth. "You've got potential," he told her in that first interview, leaning back in his leather chair like he was doing her a favor. "I see real potential in you, Lena." For 3 years, she believed him. She'd landed the Harrison account, a $15 million contract that had put Meridian on the map. Gavin had presented it to the board himself, barely mentioning her name. When she'd asked about the promotion he'd promised, he'd smiled that same oily smile and said, "Soon. These things take time." The promotion never came. But she kept working, kept delivering, kept trusting that loyalty would be rewarded. Lena pulled up an old company directory photo. Gavin stared back at her, all teeth and confidence. She zoomed in on his eyes and felt something click into place. He'd always looked at her like she was currency. Not a person, an asset to be used up and discarded when convenient. The embezzlement scheme made perfect sense now. He'd needed a fall guy for something, and she'd been it. Trusting, hardworking, with access to everything but not enough political capital to fight back. Perfect. She opened a new document and started typing. Gavin Lecter, weaknesses. His ego. His pattern of taking credit. His 2 ex-wives who probably had stories to tell. His expensive tastes on a salary that didn't quite match the lifestyle. She'd come back to that. Next, Vivian Bates. Lena's chest tightened looking at the photos. Vivian at her college graduation, arms slung around Lena's shoulders. Vivian drunk crying at 2 a.m. about her latest breakup while Lena held her hair back. Vivian moving into Lena's apartment for just a few weeks that had turned into 4 months. They'd met freshman year at State. Vivian had been everything Lena wasn't. Effortlessly beautiful, confident, the kind of magnetic personality that drew people in like moths. Lena had been stunned when Vivian chose her as a best friend. "You're real," Vivian had said once, tipsy at a party. "Everyone else is so fake, but you're actually real." If you've ever had a friend who made you feel lucky just to know them, drop a comment. Because I'm about to show you what happens when that friendship is built on quicksand. Vivian had always been competitive. Small things at first. If Lena got a compliment, Vivian needed 2. If Lena bought a new dress, Vivian bought 3. When Lena started dating Owen, Vivian had made a weird comment. "Guess you finally got something I couldn't." Lena had laughed it off. Stupid. After college, Vivian had stumbled through jobs, marketing, PR, brand consulting. never lasting more than a year anywhere. Then 2 years ago, she'd pivoted to social media. Instagram, TikTok, the whole influencer thing. She'd branded herself as a lifestyle and wellness coach, which seemed to mostly involve posting inspirational quotes over photos of her morning lattes. Her follower count had grown slowly. Painfully slowly. Until now. Lena pulled up Vivian's current Instagram. 53,000 followers. 3 sponsored posts in the last week alone. Brand deals with a skincare company and an activewear line. All built on Lena's destruction. The live stream where she'd exposed Lena had gone viral. 20,000 views and climbing. The comments were still flooding in. Thank you for being so brave and sharing this. You deserve better friends. Using her platform for good. Lena's jaw clenched. Vivian had finally found what she'd always wanted. Attention, validation, influence. And all it had cost was stabbing her best friend in the back. Vivian Bates' weaknesses. Desperate for approval. Built her entire brand on authenticity she didn't have. Documented everything online, which meant there'd be a trail. Always needed to be the victim in every story. Lena would use all of it. Finally, Owen Ripley. This one hurt the most. She'd met Owen at a friend's birthday party 4 years ago. He'd been charming in a low-key way, software developer, nice smile, actually listened when she talked. After a string of bad dates, he'd felt like a relief. Steady. Safe. They dated for 3 years. Lived together for 1. She thought they were building toward something. Then 8 months ago, he'd sat her down and said he needed space. That he felt pressured by her expectations. That maybe they'd be better as friends. Lena had been devastated. She'd spent weeks analyzing what she'd done wrong, wondering if she'd pushed too hard about moving forward, about marriage, about the future. Now she understood. Owen hadn't needed space. He'd needed distance for what came next. She pulled up his Facebook. He'd never been much for Instagram, which had always annoyed Vivian. His relationship status had changed 2 weeks ago, in a relationship with Vivian Bates. Lena stared at the screen. Of course. Owen had always been weak. Not in an obvious way, in the way that mattered. He had opinions until someone pushed back, then he'd fold. He had principles until they became inconvenient. Lena had overlooked it because she'd thought love could strengthen him. But Vivian knew how to use weakness. Lena scrolled through old texts with Owen, looking for clues she'd missed. There, 3 months before the breakup. He'd asked about her work passwords. Said his computer was acting up, and he needed to check something on her employee portal for insurance stuff. She'd given them to him without a second thought. Owen Ripley weaknesses. Weak-willed. Easily manipulated. Desperate to be liked.
No spine.
Probably didn't even fully understand what he was helping them do. He'd be the easiest to crack. Lena closed her laptop and leaned back against the headboard, her mind racing. 3 people. 3 motivations. Gavin needed a scapegoat for embezzlement. He'd probably committed himself. Vivian needed content and relevance. Owen needed what? Vivian's approval? A way to feel less guilty about the breakup by making Lena the villain? It didn't matter. What mattered was that they'd coordinated. They'd planned. They'd weaponized her trust against her. Her phone buzzed. A news alert. Local woman under investigation for corporate fraud. They'd leaked it to the press. Her full name, her photo from the company website, everything. The article painted her as a con artist who'd fooled everyone. It quoted anonymous sources saying she'd been living beyond her means. That co-workers had always suspected something.
Lies.
All lies. But lies with just enough truth woven in to make them believable. Lena's hands shook, not with fear this time, with rage. She opened her laptop again and pulled up the anonymous email account. Time to start digging for real. She started with Gavin's financial records. Public information first, property records, business filings, anything she could access legally. She found his house, worth $800,000, bought 3 years ago on a salary that should have made that impossible. Interesting. She moved to Vivian next. Social media was a goldmine. Every post, every story, every comment revealed patterns. Vivian had been in Miami a month ago, then Vegas, then New York. All expensive trips on an influencer income that, according to her media kit Lena found buried online, paid maybe $2,000 per sponsored post. The math didn't work. And Owen's LinkedIn showed he'd left a software job 6 months ago to pursue consulting opportunities. No new job listed. But his Facebook showed him at a Knicks game last week, courtside seats. They were all spending money they shouldn't have. Money that had to come from somewhere. Lena pulled up the embezzlement report again. $73,000, siphoned over 6 months through fake vendor accounts. The timing matched perfectly with when Owen had needed space. Hit subscribe if you're starting to see where this is going. Because Lena? She was about to pull every single thread until their whole web came apart. She spent the next 3 days in that motel room, barely sleeping, living on gas station coffee and granola bars. She made lists, built timelines, cross-referenced everything. On day 4, she found the first real crack. An old email in her personal backup from 11 months ago. Gavin had accidentally forwarded her something meant for Owen, a discussion about restructuring vendor relationships and ensuring clean documentation. At the time, she'd thought it was boring admin stuff. Now she saw it for what it was, the beginning of the setup. They'd started building the fake vendor accounts almost a year ago. They'd used her credentials because she had the access and the trust. And they'd waited until they had enough to pin on her, until the amount was big enough to be criminal, until she was fully isolated. Gavin got to embezzle company money. Vivian got her viral moment and follower surge. Owen got Vivian and whatever cut they'd promised him. And Lena got destroyed. She sat back, her heart pounding. She had a thread. Not proof yet, but a thread. She needed more. She needed witnesses. She needed to find the money trail. She needed to become someone they'd never expect her to be. Patient.
Strategic.
Ruthless. Lena looked at her reflection in the dark laptop screen. She barely recognized herself. Dark circles under her eyes. Hair pulled back in a messy bun. The soft edges worn away.
Good.
The old Lena, the trusting one, the helpful one was gone. This version was going to make them pay. She opened a new browser tab and typed, "Investigative journalists near Meridian Consulting." 12 results. She started reading. By morning, she'd have a plan. And in 3 months, she'd have everything she needed to bury them. They'd tried to destroy her. They had no idea they'd just created their own reckoning. Lena found her first real ally on day 17. Her name was Rachel Moss, and she'd been fired from Meridian Consulting 8 months before Lena. Budget cuts, they'd called it. Rachel had worked in accounting, the department that would have noticed fake vendor accounts if anyone had been paying attention. Lena found her through LinkedIn, working at a small tax firm 2 towns over. She sent a carefully worded message. Asterisk, I think what happened to you wasn't budget cuts. I think it was a cover-up. Can we talk? Asterisk. Rachel called her within an hour. They met at a diner off the highway. Rachel was 40-something, sharp-eyed, with the exhausted look of someone who'd been gaslit and knew it. They fired me because I asked questions, Rachel said, stirring her coffee. Gavin had me process payments to 3 new vendors. The amounts were always just under the threshold that required board approval. When I asked for the contracts, he said they were in progress. When I pushed, I was suddenly not a cultural fit. Lena's pulse quickened. Do you remember the vendor names? Sterling Solutions, Apex Consulting, and Northern Technical Services. Rachel pulled out her phone and showed Lena photos she'd secretly taken of the payment records before they'd wiped her access. I kept them because something felt wrong. I just didn't know what to do with them. Lena stared at the screen. Those were the same vendors listed in her embezzlement charges. They pinned it on me, Lena said quietly. All of it. Rachel's expression darkened. Of course they did. They needed someone with system access and no protection. She slid her phone across the table. I'll testify. I'll give you everything I have. But Lena, you need more than my word. You need the money trail. How do I find it? Offshore accounts. Shell companies. That's where Gavin would hide it. Rachel leaned forward. I worked in forensic accounting before Meridian. If those vendors are fake, the money went somewhere. We find where, we find proof. Drop a comment if you team up with someone like Rachel. Because Lena just found the first person willing to fight back. For the next 6 weeks, Lena disappeared into the investigation. She worked from the library during the day, the motel at night. She taught herself the basics of corporate forensics through YouTube videos and online forums. She tracked business registrations, cross-referenced addresses, followed paper trails that led to P.O. boxes and registered agents. Sterling Solutions was registered to an address in Delaware that turned out to be a mail drop. The listed owner? A shell company in the Cayman Islands. Apex Consulting? Same structure. Different shell company. Same jurisdiction. Northern Technical Services? Bingo. The registered agent was a law firm that specialized in offshore asset protection. And buried in the public filings was a name. G. Lecter. Not Gavin directly. Too smart for that. But his middle initial and last name on a document that shouldn't exist if these were legitimate companies. Lena's hands trembled as she screenshot everything. She had him. Not completely, not yet. But she had the thread that would unravel everything. Meanwhile, back home, her 3 destroyers were thriving. Gavin had been promoted to senior vice president. Meridian's website featured him in a press release about maintaining fiscal integrity during challenging times. Vivian's Instagram had hit 70,000 followers. She'd launched a podcast called Authentic Living where she talked about cutting toxic people from your life and protecting your energy. Episode 3 was literally titled, When Your Best Friend Betrays You. Owen had posted a photo with Vivian at some rooftop bar, both of them laughing, champagne glasses raised. The caption, sometimes the worst things lead to the best things. Lena stared at that photo for a long time. Then she saved it to her evidence folder. On day 73, Lena made contact with a journalist. Her name was Diana Cross, investigative reporter for the Metro Daily. She'd broken stories about corporate fraud before, pension schemes, insider trading, executive embezzlement. Exactly what Lena needed. Lena sent an anonymous email with a single line. Meridian Consulting's VP embezzled $73,000 and framed an employee. I can prove it. 2 days later, Diana responded. I'm listening. They met at a coffee shop in the city. Diana was younger than Lena expected, early 30s, with dark-rimmed glasses and a recorder she set on the table immediately. Talk, Diana said. Lena laid it all out. The timeline, the fake vendors, Rachel's testimony, the offshore connections, the pattern of silencing anyone who asked questions. Diana listened without interrupting, taking notes on her laptop. When Lena finished, Diana sat back. This is good, really good, but there's a problem. Lena's stomach dropped. What? You're the accused. Your credibility is shot. Even with Rachel's testimony and the shell company evidence, a good lawyer will argue you're fabricating this to save yourself. Diana's expression softened. I believe you, but I need something undeniable. Something that links Gavin directly to the money. Like what? Bank records. Email communications about moving the funds. Something that proves he controlled those accounts. Diana closed her laptop. Get me that and I'll run the story. Without it, this is just your word against theirs. Lena felt the walls closing in. How am I supposed to get his bank records? That's the question, isn't it? Diana handed her a business card. You've got 2 weeks. After that, I'm moving on to other stories. Lena sat in her car outside the coffee shop, gripping the steering wheel. 2 weeks. She needed access to Gavin's personal accounts, his emails, his financial records. She needed to do something illegal. The old Lena would have stopped here, would have taken what she had to the police, and hoped the system worked. But the old Lena was dead. This Lena? This Lena was going to get what she needed. She pulled out her laptop and opened a dark web forum she'd found weeks ago, the kind of place where people discussed things they shouldn't. She'd been lurking, learning, watching. Now she posted a question. Need to access someone's email remotely. What's the safest method? The responses came quickly. Some were jokes. Some were scams. But one caught her attention. Social engineering. You don't hack the system, you hack the person. Find their security question answers. Most people use real information. Birthdays, pet names, mother's maiden name. Build a profile, reset the password, you're in. Lena stared at the screen. She knew Gavin. She'd worked for him for 4 years. She knew his ex-wives' names, his college, his favorite restaurant. She'd heard him talk about his childhood dog, his hometown, his mother's cooking. She knew everything she needed. Hit subscribe if you think she's about to cross a line she can't uncross. Because Lena just realized something. Revenge isn't about being right. It's about being willing to do what they won't see coming. That night, Lena created a fake tech support email that looked exactly like Meridian's IT department. She spoofed the domain, copied the logo, matched the formatting perfectly. Then she sent Gavin a message. Security update required. Please verify your account credentials to maintain access. Click here. The link led to a clone login page. She waited. 3 hours later, Gavin took the bait. She watched his username and password populate in her backend system. He'd used the same password he'd always used. She'd seen him type it 100 times on his office computer. G. Lecter 1978. His birth year. Predictable. Lena's heart hammered as she logged into his personal email. And there it was. Months of correspondence. Emails to Owen about making sure the documentation is clean. Messages to his offshore bank about quarterly transfers. A thread with Vivian discussing timing the exposure for maximum impact. They'd planned everything. Every detail. Even the social media strategy. And they'd been stupid enough to discuss it through email. Lena downloaded everything. Thousands of messages. Years of correspondence. She had them. All 3 of them. She backed up the files to 3 separate cloud accounts, then a USB drive she'd mailed to Rachel. Then she sat back and allowed herself to smile for the first time in months. Diana had wanted undeniable proof. She was about to get it. Lena spent the next week organizing evidence like she was building a legal case because she created a master document, a timeline with every email, every transaction, every lie cross-referenced with dates and sources. She had Gavin's offshore transfers showing $73,000 moving from Meridian to his shell companies, then into his personal accounts. She had Owen's messages confirming he'd used Lena's credentials. She had Vivian's emails calculating how many followers she'd gained from the exposure drop. Rachel helped her format everything for maximum legal impact. This is airtight, Rachel said during one of their late-night calls. Any prosecutor would take this case. But Lena wasn't going to prosecutors first. She was going to destroy them publicly before the law ever touched them. She sent Diana the files with a simple message. Everything you asked for, and more.
Can you run it?
Diana's response came in minutes. Holy shit.
Yes.
But I need 2 days to verify sources and get legal clearance.
Can you hold tight?
Lena could hold tight. She'd been holding tight for 3 months. What was 2 more days? Meanwhile, the three of them had gotten comfortable. Gavin was scheduled to speak at a regional business conference about ethical leadership in corporate finance. The irony was almost funny. Vivian had announced a brand partnership with a major wellness company, a 6-figure deal, according to her Instagram story where she'd accidentally shown the contract terms. She was planning a launch event, a live stream where she'd unveil her new product line. The date?
3 days from now.
Owen had changed his LinkedIn headline to Consultant Entrepreneur Living Authentically. They thought they'd won. They thought Lena had disappeared, broken and silent. They had no idea she was about to become their nightmare. Lena's phone buzzed. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. Ms. Ward, a man's voice, older, careful. My name is Thomas Chen. I'm an attorney. I've been following your case. Lena's guard went up immediately. How did you get this number? Rachel Moss gave it to me. She's a former colleague. I specialize in wrongful termination and corporate fraud cases. He paused. I'd like to represent you.
Pro bono. Why?
Because I've been watching Meridian Consulting for years. They've done this before, smaller scale, different targets. You're not the first person they've destroyed, but you might be the first one with enough evidence to take them down. His voice hardened. And I'd very much like to be part of that. Lena sat down slowly. You're saying they've done this to others? At least 3 people I know of. All quietly settled with NDAs. All destroyed professionally. Thomas sent her an email in real time. I'm sending you their names. If you want to talk to them, I can facilitate introductions. Lena opened the email. 3 names. 3 stories probably just like hers. Mr. Chen, I'm not looking to settle quietly.
Good.
Neither am I. She could hear the smile in his voice. Let's burn them down legally while you burn them down publicly. Combined approach. Maximum damage. When can you file? I can have the lawsuit ready in 48 hours. Fraud, defamation, wrongful termination, emotional distress. We'll hit them with everything. He paused. Ms. Ward, I've seen a lot of victims. Most of them want to forget and move on. You're different. They made me different. Yes, they did. And that's going to be their biggest mistake. Tell me in the comments, team lawsuit or team public exposure? Because Lena's about to do both. Day 87. Everything was ready. Diana had verified every source, interviewed Rachel independently, and built a story that would run in 2 parts. Part 1 would drop tomorrow morning. Meridian Consulting executive embezzled funds, framed employee. Part 2 would follow 3 days later with a deeper investigation into offshore accounts and the pattern of silencing employees. Thomas had the lawsuit drafted. It named Gavin, Vivian, Owen, and Meridian Consulting. The filing would happen the same day as Diana's article, coordinated for maximum impact. And Lena? Lena had one more piece to put in place. She'd spent the last week creating her own video. 12 minutes long. Her face on camera for the first time since the firing. Calm, clear, and devastating. She laid out the entire story, showed receipts, played audio recordings she'd made of her final meeting with HR, where Gavin had accused her, displayed the emails she'd pulled from his account, the bank transfers, everything. The video ended with a simple statement. They tried to destroy me because I was convenient, because I trusted them, because they thought I'd disappear quietly. They were wrong. She'd scheduled it to post on YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook simultaneously, 2 hours after Diana's article dropped, right in the middle of Vivian's launch livestream. The timing was surgical. The article would establish credibility. The lawsuit would create legal consequences. And her video would ensure the court of public opinion delivered its verdict. She'd even created a dedicated website, thetruthaboutmeridian.com, with all the evidence, all the documents, everything organized for journalists, lawyers, and anyone who wanted to verify her claims. Lena looked at the published schedule on her laptop. 24 hours. In 24 hours, everything would detonate. That night, she allowed herself one moment of doubt. She sat in the motel room that had become her war room, surrounded by printouts and notes and evidence, and wondered if she was doing the right thing. This would ruin them.
Completely.
Professionally, socially, legally. Gavin would lose his job, face criminal charges. Vivian's influencer career would implode, brands would drop her within hours. Owen would be unemployable, named in a fraud lawsuit. Was she becoming like them? Was revenge turning her into something she didn't recognize? Then she remembered sitting in her car after being escorted out. Remembered her mother hanging up on her. Remembered watching Vivian smile on that live stream while destroying her reputation to thousands of people. Remembered that they'd planned this. For months. Deliberately. They'd calculated her destruction, like a business strategy.
No.
This wasn't about becoming like them. This was about justice. And if justice looked like revenge, so be it. Lena closed her laptop and set her alarm. Tomorrow, she'd wake up and press publish. Tomorrow, they'd learn what happens when you underestimate the quiet ones. Tomorrow, she'd stop being the victim. The article went live at 6 a.m. Meridian Consulting executive allegedly embezzled $73,000, framed employee for fraud. By Diana Cross, Metro Daily. Lena refreshed the page obsessively, watching the view count climb. 100, 500, 1,000. By 7 a.m., it had been shared 300 times. Diana had done her job perfectly. The article laid out the evidence methodically. The fake vendors, the offshore accounts, Rachel's testimony, the pattern of silenced employees. She'd even gotten a statement from one of the other victims Thomas had mentioned. They ruined my career. I'm glad someone finally has proof. At 7:23 a.m., Meridian's PR team issued a statement. We are aware of the allegations and are conducting an internal investigation. We take these matters seriously. Corporate speak for we're panicking. At 8:15 a.m., Gavin's LinkedIn profile disappeared. At 8:47 a.m., Thomas filed the lawsuit. Within an hour, legal documents were being served to all three defendants. Lena watched it unfold from the Millbrook Library, her laptop open, her phone buzzing with notifications. It was working, but the real show was about to start. At 2 p.m., Vivian went live. Lena pulled up the stream on her phone. Vivian was in full influencer mode. Perfect lighting, branded backdrop, that practice smile that looked genuine to anyone who didn't know her. Hey, everyone. Thank you so much for being here for this special announcement. Vivian's voice was sugar-sweet. Today I'm so excited to introduce my partnership with. The comments section exploded. Asterisk, have you seen the Metro Daily article? Asterisk. Asterisk, you lied about Lena? Asterisk. This you? Link. Vivian's smile faltered. Let me just address some. There's been some confusion about. More comments flooded in. Hundreds of them. People posting screenshots from Diana's article. Someone linked directly to the lawsuit filing. Vivian's face went pale. I'm going to have to cut this short. Technical difficulties. I'll reschedule. At exactly 2:07 p.m., Lena's video went live across all platforms. She watched the view counter tick up. 50, 200, 1,000. And then the notifications started coming in different shares, tags, news outlets picking it up. Former employee releases video with evidence against Meridian Consulting. Woman framed for fraud exposes conspiracy. Influencer caught in corporate fraud scheme. By 3 p.m., Lena's video had 50,000 views. By 4 p.m., 200,000. By 6 p.m., it was trending. Lena sat in the library, watching the internet do what it does best, burn down everything in its path. Vivian's Instagram comments were a war zone. Every post, every story, flooded with accusations. Her follower count started dropping, slowly at first, then in a hemorrhage. 70,000. 68,000. 65,000. Her brand partners started distancing themselves. The wellness company posted a statement. Asterisk. We've decided to pause our partnership pending further information. Asterisk. Corporate speak for we're done with you. Owen had made his social media private, but screenshots were circulating. His messages to Gavin. His admission that he'd used Lena's credentials. People were finding his current employer, a small startup, and flooding their inbox with emails. And Gavin? Gavin was silent. But Meridian wasn't. At 7 p.m., the company issued a new statement. Gavin Lecter has been placed on administrative leave pending a full investigation. We are cooperating with law enforcement. The rats were abandoning ship. Lena's phone rang. Diana Cross. You did it, Diana said. Every major outlet is picking this up. I've had 6 interview requests for you. This is going to be national by tomorrow. I don't want to do interviews, Lena said quietly. I know. But Lena?
You should think about it.
This isn't just about you anymore. Those other victims Thomas mentioned? 3 more have reached out since the article dropped. You're giving people courage to come forward. Lena closed her eyes. She hadn't thought about that part. She'd been so focused on her own revenge that she hadn't considered she might be opening the door for others. I'll think about it, she said. After she hung up, she checked her email. Her inbox was flooded. Strangers thanking her. People sharing their own stories of being framed, gaslit, destroyed by people they trusted. One message caught her eye. I worked at Meridian 5 years ago. They did the same thing to me. I was too scared to fight back. Thank you for fighting. Lena sat back, something shifting in her chest. This had started as revenge. Pure and simple. But maybe it was becoming something else. Maybe it was becoming justice. Day 90. Lena woke up to 17 missed calls and a text from Thomas. Call me immediately. She sat up, heart pounding, and dialed. They're pushing back, Thomas said without preamble. Gavin hired Marcus Whitfield. Lena's blood went cold. She knew that name. Everyone knew that name. Marcus Whitfield was the lawyer rich people hired when they wanted to bury problems. High profile, expensive, and very, very good at making evidence disappear. What does that mean for us? It means this is going to get ugly. He's already filed motions to dismiss, claiming you obtained evidence illegally. He's arguing the emails you pulled from Gavin's account are inadmissible. But I know. But he's not wrong, Lena. You hacked into his email. That's a felony. He's threatening to file criminal charges against you for unauthorized access to computer systems. The room tilted. He's going to have me arrested? He's going to try. And if he succeeds, everything you've built falls apart. You become the criminal, and they become the victims. Lena's hands shook. So what do? We fight. We argue whistleblower protections, public interest, necessity. But Lena... Thomas's voice softened. I need you to understand. This could go either way. You might win. You might end up in prison. After she hung up, Lena sat in the motel room and felt the walls closing in. She'd thought the hard part was getting the evidence. She'd thought once she exposed them, it would be over. But they were fighting back. And they had resources she didn't. The media narrative started shifting. Conservative outlets picked up the story with a different angle. Disgruntled employee hacks boss's email, launches smear campaign. Woman facing legal consequences after illegal data theft. When does revenge become crime? The comments sections turned. Some people still supported her, but others questioned her methods. 2 wrongs don't make a right. She's just as bad as they are. She broke the law. Vivian gave an interview to a sympathetic podcast, crying about being targeted and harassed. She claimed she'd been manipulated by Gavin, that she hadn't known what she was involved in, that she was a victim too. Some people believed her. Owen posted a statement claiming he'd been coerced into helping and was seeking therapy for the trauma. And Gavin? Gavin stayed silent, letting his lawyer do the talking. By day 93, Lena's view count had stalled. The viral moment was passing. New scandals were taking over the news cycle. And she was running out of money again. Thomas called with worse news. The judge granted their motion to suppress the email evidence. Unless we can prove you had legal access to that information, it's off the table. That was everything. Lena said, her voice hollow. That was the whole case. We still have Rachel's testimony. We still have the offshore company evidence. It's not nothing. It's not enough. Silence on the line. Because they both knew she was right. Without the emails, without the direct proof of coordination, it became a credibility contest. And Lena's credibility was now damaged by the illegal access charges. There's something else, Thomas said quietly. Gavin's lawyer contacted me. They want to settle. Lena's breath caught. Settle. $200,000.
내 대야.
All charges dropped on both sides. You walk away, they walk away, everyone pretends this never happened. That's not justice.
No.
But it's survival. Lena, if this goes to trial and you lose, you could face jail time. Real jail time. Is revenge worth that? Lena hung up without answering. That night, she sat in the dark motel room and confronted the possibility that she'd lost. She'd exposed them. She'd fought back. She'd done everything right. And it might not be enough. The old doubts crept in. Maybe she should have just walked away from the beginning. Maybe she should have let them win and started over somewhere new. Maybe this entire crusade had been a mistake. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Asterisk, they're going to destroy you just like they destroyed your reputation. Take the settlement and disappear. Asterisk. It wasn't signed, but Lena knew who it was from. Vivian's number from a burner phone. They were scared. That meant something. But were they scared enough? Lena pulled up her banking app. $743 left. The motel was paid through the end of the week. After that, she'd be homeless. She thought about her mother, who still hadn't called back. About her old life, her old apartment, her old self who'd been so naive. She thought about the settlement offer. $200,000. Enough to start over. Enough to live. All she had to do was stay silent. Drop a comment. Should she take the money or keep fighting? Because right now, Lena's standing at the edge of giving up. She opened her laptop one more time, looking at the evidence files she'd compiled. Months of work. Hundreds of hours. And then she saw it. Something she'd missed before. A thread she hadn't pulled. In one of Gavin's emails to his offshore bank, there was a CC'd address she'd glossed over, accounting@meridian-consulting.com. Not a personal email. A company email. Which meant the company's server had a copy. Which meant she didn't need Gavin's hacked emails at all. She needed Meridian's official records. And those were discoverable through legal channels. Lena grabbed her phone and called Thomas, her hand shaking. I know how we prove it, she said. The emails exist on Meridian servers. We subpoena their records. Everything I found in Gavin's personal email should have mirror copies in the company system, and those are completely legal to access through discovery. Thomas was quiet for a moment. That's brilliant. If the company's server has those communications, we can argue we obtained them legitimately through the legal process, and your prior knowledge just told us where to look. Can you file for it? I can file tomorrow. She could hear the smile in his voice. Lena, if this works, we're back in the game.
File it, she said.
I'm not taking the settlement. After she hung up, Lena lay back on the motel bed and allowed herself to breathe. She wasn't done yet. Not even close. The subpoena hit Meridian's legal department like a bomb. Thomas had been strategic. He'd requested all emails, documents, and communications related to vendor payments, offshore accounts, and employee terminations for the past 2 years. Broad enough to capture everything Lena needed, specific enough to be legally defensible. Meridian's lawyers tried to block it. Too broad, they argued. Fishing expedition. Violation of privacy. The judge disagreed. Asterisk, discovery granted. Meridian Consulting will turn over all requested materials within 15 days. Asterisk. Lena got the news via text from Thomas. Asterisk, we're back. They have to give us everything. Asterisk. She sat in the library, staring at her phone, and felt something crack open in her chest. Not hope exactly. She'd learned not to trust hope. But something close. Possibility. While they waited for Meridian's document dump, Lena did something she hadn't done in months. She went home. Not to her old apartment. that was long gone, her stuff in storage she couldn't afford to access. But to her mother's house, an hour outside the city. She knocked on the door at 3 p.m. on a Tuesday. Her mother answered, eyes widening. Lena.
Mom.
They stood there for a long moment. Then her mother stepped aside.
Come in.
They sat at the kitchen table with tea neither of them drank. Lena's mother looked older than she remembered.
Tired.
I saw your video, her mother said finally. All of it. And I'm sorry. Her mother's voice cracked. I should have believed you. I should have known you'd never do what they said. The police, the news, everyone was so certain. It's okay, Mom. It's not okay. You're my daughter. I should have been on your side, no matter what. She reached across the table, squeezed Lena's hand. Can you forgive me? Lena felt tears prick her eyes for the first time in weeks. Already have. They talked for hours. About everything, the betrayal, the investigation, the revenge plan, the legal battles. Her mother listened without interrupting, and when Lena finished, she said something unexpected. Your father would be proud of you. Lena's throat tightened. Her father had died when she was in college, a heart attack, sudden and devastating. He'd always told her to stand up for herself, to fight for what was right. I hope so, Lena whispered. I know so. You didn't just fight back, sweetheart. You're protecting other people from the same thing happening to them. Her mother smiled. That's not revenge. That's heroism. Lena wasn't sure about that, but it felt good to hear anyway. On day 103, Meridian turned over the documents. 47,000 emails, 2,000 financial records, memos, meetings notes, offshore transfer authorizations, everything. Lena and Thomas spent 3 days in his office, going through it all with Rachel's help. They found duplicates of every email Lena had pulled from Gavin's personal account, but these were official company records, completely admissible in court. They found more. Internal memos showing the board had suspected fraud 6 months before Lena was framed. Communications between HR and Gavin discussing identifying a suitable termination candidate. Owen's official access logs showing he'd logged into systems using Lena's credentials 17 times. It was damning. All of it. This doesn't just prove your case, Thomas said, looking up from his laptop. This proves Meridian knew. Corporate liability. We can go after the whole company now. Rachel pulled up a spreadsheet. The offshore transfers total over $200,000. Gavin didn't just embezzle the $73,000 they pinned on Lena. He'd been doing it for years. Lena leaned back in her chair. So, what's our move? Thomas smiled, the kind of smile lawyers get when they know they've won. We amend the lawsuit. Add Meridian Corporate as a defendant. We file criminal referrals with the DA. And we hold a press conference. Press conference? You've been silent since the initial video. People are wondering if you gave up, if you took the settlement, if you disappeared again. He turned his laptop around, showing her the search trends. Interest in her story had declined over the past 2 weeks. It's time to remind everyone why they cared. And this time, you'll have the legal high ground. If you're still watching, hit that subscribe button because the revenge is about to go nuclear. The press conference was scheduled for the following Monday at Diana's newspaper office. Major outlets confirmed attendance, local news, AP, even a few national networks. Lena prepared obsessively. She worked with Thomas on exactly what she could and couldn't say legally. She practiced answering hostile questions. She picked out an outfit that looked professional but not too polished, credible, relatable. The night before, she couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about Gavin, Vivian, and Owen, about how they were probably panicking right now, watching their carefully constructed defenses crumble. She wondered if they regretted it. If they'd known she'd fight this hard, would they have chosen a different target? Probably not. People like them never thought about consequences. They thought about what they could get away with. But they'd miscalculated. They'd thought Lena was weak because she was kind. They'd confused trust with stupidity. And now they were about to pay for that mistake. Monday morning, Lena stood in front of 18 journalists and 5 cameras, with Thomas beside her and Rachel in the front row for support. She told the truth. All of it. She explained the investigation, the evidence, the pattern of silencing victims. She showed charts, documents, email printouts. She named names. Gavin Lecter didn't just embezzle funds, she said, her voice steady. He built a system of fraud and intimidation. And when I got too close to discovering it, he destroyed my life to protect himself. With help from Vivian Bates and Owen Ripley, he framed me, ruined my reputation, and expected me to disappear. She paused, looked directly into the camera. I didn't disappear. I fought back. And now I'm here to make sure this never happens to anyone else. The questions came fast after that. She answered each one carefully, factually. When someone asked if she regretted hacking Gavin's email, she was honest. I regret that it was necessary. I don't regret fighting back. The press conference lasted an hour. By the time it was over, the story was everywhere again, but this time, the narrative was different. This time, Lena wasn't the angry victim seeking revenge. The fallout was immediate and surgical. Tuesday morning, the DA announced criminal investigations into Gavin Lecter and Meridian Consulting. Tuesday afternoon, Meridian's board fired Gavin. Statement, terminated effective immediately. Cooperating with law enforcement. Wednesday, 3 more former employees came forward. The investigation expanded. Vivian's world collapsed next. Brand partnerships evaporated. The wellness company sued her for fraud. Her follower count plummeted to 38,000. She tried one desperate Instagram live. Tears, claims of being manipulated, but someone leaked emails showing she'd planned Lena's exposure drop for maximum engagement. The comments destroyed her. Fake, you're done, karma. Within days, she deleted everything and disappeared. Owen cracked first. Fired from his startup, LinkedIn gone, he sent Lena a 2 a.m. email. Please.
I'm sorry.
Vivian said it was just revenge for the breakup. I didn't know about the money. I'll testify. Just make it stop. Lena forwarded it to Thomas without responding. He just confessed, Thomas said. The DA will love this. We've won. Day 115 *, Lena walked into Meridian's headquarters, invited this time. The new interim CEO, Patricia Hendricks, slid a folder across her desk. The board authorized me to offer full restitution, compensation, and a formal apology. She showed Lena a check. $350,000.
Nonda.
We're not asking for silence. We're asking for a chance to make this right. Why not fight?
Lena asked.
Because you exposed systemic rot. 11 more employees have come forward since your press conference. You forced us to change. Patricia's voice was firm. We owe you more than money. I want one more thing. Rachel Moss, reinstated with back pay and a promotion. Done.
Lena signed.
The criminal trial took 6 months. Gavin fought every charge. But with Owen's testimony and the mountains of evidence, the verdict was inevitable. Guilty, 14 counts. 7 years federal prison. Full restitution. Banned from corporate positions for life. Vivian took a plea deal. 2 years probation, community service. Her influencer career died. She moved states, worked retail under her middle name. Owen. 1 year minimum security for cooperating, 3 years probation. Career destroyed. But Lena's real victory came quietly, in coffee shops and emails. 16 more victims reached out. Former employees who'd been silenced, pushed out, destroyed. Lena connected them with Thomas. They filed a class action lawsuit. Meridian settled for $4.2 million, split among victims. More importantly, they implemented whistleblower protections, fired toxic managers, and created an ethics oversight board. Lena had done more than get revenge. She'd changed the system. 6 months after the trial *, Diana's follow-up article ran nationally. How one woman's fight exposed corporate fraud and protected future whistleblowers. Lena was offered jobs, 3 of them. Corporate compliance positions at Fortune 500 companies who wanted someone who actually understood ethics. She accepted one in Seattle. Fresh start. Better pay. A title that mattered. Director of Ethics and Compliance. Her first day, she hung a photo in her office. The moment she was escorted out of Meridian. A reminder of where she'd been. What she'd survived. What she'd overcome. One evening, Lena's phone buzzed. Unknown number, *. She almost didn't answer. Then did. Lena Ward. A woman's voice, shaking. My name is Sophia Martinez. I worked at Meridian. They did to me what they did to you. I found her website. I don't know what to do. Lena sat down slowly. Tell me everything. As Sophia talked, Lena pulled out her laptop and opened a new document. Sophia Martinez case file. She wasn't just a survivor anymore. She was a protector. And for people like Gavin, Vivian, and Owen, people who thought they could destroy the vulnerable and walk away, Lena Ward had become something they never expected. She'd become their reckoning. 18 months after being escorted out of Meridian Consulting, Lena Ward stood in her Seattle apartment, looking out at the city lights. Her life looked nothing like it had before.
Better job.
Better city. Better everything. But more importantly, better her. She'd learned the difference between trust and naivety, between kindness and weakness, between justice and revenge. Revenge was what she'd wanted in that motel room. Revenge was the fire that kept her going through the darkest nights. But justice? Justice was what she'd built. Her phone buzzed. Her mother. ***. Hey, Mom. Just calling to see how you're settling in. Have you decorated yet? Lena smiled, looking around her still mostly empty apartment. Getting there. Your father would be so proud of you, sweetheart. Not just for winning, for how you won. You didn't just destroy them. You protected people. After they hung up, Lena opened her laptop. Her website, ***, the Whistleblower Project, ***, had grown beyond anything she'd imagined. What started as documentation of her own case had become a resource hub for corporate fraud victims. 17 active cases now. 12 resolved with settlements or policy changes. 5 heading to trial. She wasn't doing it alone. Rachel had left Meridian after a year and joined her as a partner. Thomas handled the legal side pro bono, building a reputation as the lawyer who took on corporate bullies. Together, they become something corporations feared: organized victims with evidence and the will to fight. A notification popped up, new message. She clicked. It was from the court system. Gavin Lecter, parole hearing denied. He'd tried to get early release. The board reviewed his case and saw zero remorse, zero accountability. He'd served the full 7 years. Lena closed the notification without emotion. She'd stopped checking on him months ago. Stopped following Vivian's attempts to rebrand under new names. Stopped caring what Owen was doing. They were irrelevant now. She'd taken her power back, and that was enough. That weekend, Lena did something she hadn't done in years. She went on a date. His name was Marcus. No, wait, James, she smiled, remembering the template rule. James Chun, a patent attorney she'd met at a legal conference. Kind eyes. Good sense of humor. No connection to her past. Over dinner, he asked about her work. I help people fight back when corporations try to destroy them, she said simply. Sounds intense. It is. But someone has to do it. He smiled. I like that. Someone who stands for something. As they talked, Lena realized something. She was happy. Not the naive happiness of before, when she trusted too easily and believed the world was fair. Real happiness. Hard-earned. Built on truth and strength and knowing exactly who she was. That night, she posted one final video. Not about Gavin. Not about Meridian. About moving forward. A lot of you followed my story from the beginning, she said to the camera. You watched me lose everything and fight to get it back. Some of you are fighting your own battles right now. And I want you to know something. She paused, choosing her words carefully. They tried to destroy me because they thought I was weak. They thought trust meant stupidity. They thought kindness meant I wouldn't fight back. She smiled. They were wrong. And if someone's trying to destroy you right now, they're wrong about you too. Subscribe if this story meant something to you. Drop a comment about your own comeback. Because we're not victims, we're survivors. And we're just getting started. She hit upload. 2 years later, ***. Lena stood on a stage at a corporate ethics conference, speaking to 300 compliance officers about building whistleblower-friendly cultures.